Oh, hello there, it's Kevin here from Happy Beard Games, and welcome to Gamerpiece Theatre, where I take a look at some classic video games and find out what made them special, what makes them hold up against the test of time, what makes them truly great, and a masterpiece in video games. So let's take a look at what is brewing in the oven that is the Nintendo NES right now. Let's just see what's in there. Let's just check it out. Alright, let's check out what's inside my Nintendo and see what game we have in store today. Whoa! That game really packs a punch! And that game is the original Donkey Kong 3, the arcade game for the Nintendo NES, ported straight out of the arcades from your boys at Nintendo. Yeah, this is a Nintendo Entertainment System classic and an arcade classic. It's almost kind of a hidden gem, but how is it a hidden gem? Well, because Donkey Kong is a popular series. Everybody knows DK and Donkey Kong Country, and on and on. But Donkey Kong 3 takes a different approach. There's no Mario. Donkey Kong's in it as the villain, but it has a lesser presence in the arcade than the other two, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., and it's lesser known than some of the other games in the series, and it does have a slightly different, actually a pretty different, gameplay style, as we'll soon see in today's Gamerpiece Theatre on Donkey Kong 3 for the NES. Now, focusing on Donkey Kong games once again, with Donkey Kong 3 being the subject of today's video, we have looked at some Donkey Kong games in the past. Now, each Donkey Kong arcade game actually has its own unique style of gameplay. The first two games are also included on the Donkey Kong Classics collection for the Nintendo NES, which includes Donkey Kong, a port of the arcade, not the exact copy, and Donkey Kong Jr., another port. There's slightly different variations on the arcade and the NES ports, but for the most part, the gameplay is pretty close on the NES. Much closer than the Atari versions, or the other console versions that Nintendo had before Nintendo put out their own system, the NES. Donkey Kong 3 really takes things in a new direction, a new step, and a new approach, and a completely different gameplay style than the first two Donkey Kong games. It could be argued that Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. are similar because they are both platformer games. They both have a goal to rescue someone at the top of the tower. In the first game, you're Mario rescuing Pauline from the evil DK. In the second game, DK is your papa and you're Donkey Kong Jr. So you're trying to rescue your father from the evil Mario. It's a twist. The first two games kind of mirror each other in some ways while retaining the platforming gameplay level after level, and it's pretty similar. Now, in this game, Donkey Kong 3, they really do once again take it in a new step. And the differences here are pretty obvious right from the start. I mean, it's an arcade game, it's simple, it's fast, it's easy to pick up and play, and easy to understand what it is immediately when you look at the screen. And it's not like the other Donkey Kongs. This game is not a platformer. There's a little bit of platforms that you can jump on, but it's not a platforming game. This game is mostly a shooter game. Not a first-person shooter like you youngins might be playing, but an actual shooter game, like a spaceship shooter, a shoot-'em-up, a shmup. But it's not so much like that. It has its own uniqueness to it that gives it what it is. It's just Donkey Kong 3, it's a unique game. So in Donkey Kong 3, you don't play as Mario. Mario is not in this game at all. He doesn't make a return as a villain or a hero this time. You play as a man named Stan Lee. And he has bug spray for his weapon and attack, and you'll use that in the game. So there's an importance to the character's job, such as Mario is a plumber. In the original Mario Bros, there was pipes and stuff. Even in Super Mario Bros, you go down pipes. So once you know Mario is a plumber, that's how you know, okay, you kind of get a little idea of what the character is in the gameplay. Certain video game characters in the classic arcade are like that. You can see these iconic roles or jobs that the characters represent, and it's all based on their character archetype. You can understand what the character is just by understanding what they are. And that's what you get here with Stanley. Stanley is the hero. You play as Stanley. He's the bug exterminator, the pest exterminator, and he's got to fight off multiple enemies. One of them being the big bad guy himself, Donkey Kong. He's back for some revenge. He's back in the bad guy seat in this one. Now when you're playing this game, you're looking at the main screen. This is mostly a single screen experience. The levels change slightly in design of the platforms, but they don't change as dramatically as they did in the first two games, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., where they had separate levels after level. In those games, things were different, but in this one, it mostly stays the same. And there's a reason for that. I think the reasoning behind this is it's a wave shooter. You fight wave after wave of enemies, increasing on the difficulty. You don't need to change up the background graphics or the level design too much, because the gameplay is so fast and it already increases in difficulty each time that you don't need to have a lot of differences going on at once. Especially on a limited computer such as the Donkey Kong 3 arcade board or the Nintendo NES. Now let's jump into the gameplay. The gameplay of Donkey Kong 3 is, once again, a shooting game. So there's a couple things that you're actually looking out for specifically in the gameplay that'll help you score and help you win this level after level. What you're actually doing once you figure it out is you're shooting Donkey Kong. That's the big target. It's kind of obvious when you think about it, but there's a lot going on and it happens real fast, so you have to keep an eye out for certain things. Some of the things that you have to remember are Stanley's bug spray. Stanley's bug spray can only spray a certain amount of range above him. So you're always shooting up. You can't shoot left or right or any other direction. And when Stanley jumps up higher, he gets closer to his target, allowing you to shoot them at a closer range and actually hit the target. So if Stanley jumps up the platforms, makes it to the top of the platform, and then continues shooting upward, he will have enough range to be able to hit Donkey Kong. What you want to do is hit Donkey Kong enough times to get him all the way off the top of the screen, and that's how you complete a level. But wait, there's a lot more to this game than just shooting Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong has other enemies that will help him out to destroy you. The other enemy types are all bugs, and luckily you're an exterminator with some bug spray, so you can take them out easily, with one shot usually on each one. But there's a catch to some of them, so let's go over them real quick. There are flying bug type enemies. These are the easiest and most basic of enemies, you can destroy them with one shot. Similarly to the enemies on Galaga, Galaxian, or Space Invaders type games. Very basic stuff. There's other types of enemies as well. Some of the bigger flying bugs can shoot out some needles at you when you go to destroy them, so you have to watch out. When you shoot that one, you have to know exactly the pattern of where the needles will spread out, because it's a spread shot, and then you have to be able to dodge that right away. So sometimes you don't want to shoot them when they're that close to you. You want to have some range in case you need to dodge out of the way to avoid those needles. The other enemy is a worm-like or larva enemy. Now this enemy is a little different because he won't attack you directly. What this enemy will do is block your path from shooting DK. He'll block your way from attacking Donkey Kong. And the way he does that is because there's multiple of these enemies and they kind of just make a bridge or a block or a shield in front of Donkey Kong. So when you go to shoot him, it won't hit Donkey Kong. Now, there's a catch to this as well, because you can't kill these enemies with your normal bug spray. They have extra armor or something. So what do you have to do to defeat these enemies? You have to get the super bug spray. A powered up special bug spray that you get through a pickup or a power up item that will drop on certain stages. When you get this power up, it'll allow you to not only destroy those worm-like enemies that make a shield across Donkey Kong, but it'll also allow you to destroy any enemies a lot faster, and allow you to shoot Donkey Kong towards the top of the screen much faster. It also increases the range of your shots, so you can actually start shooting him from a lower part of the stage. And while this already seems like there's enough chaos going on screen at one time, there's actually a lot more to this gameplay. there are flower pots that you have to protect on the bottom because you are keeping these plants safe. Now those flying enemies or bees will try to take your flower pots and make off with them into the distance. You have to either stop them before they reach the pots, or stop them while they still have the pots with them. You can actually get the pots back if you shoot it when they're carrying them. It's a lot of chaos, and this just adds to the fun of the game, and also adds to the challenge. So now the game really begins to amp up. You've got multiple enemy types attacking you, and flying all around you, trying to steal your flower pots while you're shooting at them and dodging them back and forth. But at the same time, you've still got that giant, hairy, bad guy, Donkey Kong, up on the top of the screen to worry about, and that's what you want to focus on. If you can clear off the bees just enough so that you can get to the top, and then you can fight Donkey Kong, focus on him, get him to the top, the level will be over. That was tough, but there's more, and it keeps getting harder and harder as you go on through the gameplay. Now, Donkey Kong isn't content with just using his minions and letting his minions do all the dirty work. He will attack you at certain points in the game. His attacks are really sneaky, however, and they really are tricky to avoid sometimes. They're actually one of the hardest things to avoid because you can't just shoot Donkey Kong away like a normal enemy. Donkey Kong's main attack, which can actually be seen on the game's cover art here, is a giant coconut that he will throw at you. Sometimes these come in different patterns and at different times during the gameplay, so you always have to be ready to be able to dodge that coconut. If you're on the top platform shooting DK, he can throw it at you very fast. If you're on the bottom platforms, you might have a chance to dodge it, but it's still really tricky when he starts throwing those coconuts. And that's the basic gameplay of Donkey Kong 3. You shoot bugs, protect your plants, and get Donkey Kong off that screen by shooting him with that bug spray. It's a pretty simple concept, but it actually makes for the most chaotic of the 3 Donkey Kong original arcade games. And there's more to it than that. You know, everyone seems to know Donkey Kong. The character is iconic and timeless. The original Donkey Kong video game in the arcades and on the NES and other systems that it's imported to is one of the most iconic arcade games of its time, up there with Pac-Man and others. In fact, when I saw some variations of Donkey Kong and or Donkey Kong Jr. that had different levels, or some of the levels were out of order, or maybe there were some levels that weren't included on certain ports of the game or localizations of the game, I thought that was actually Donkey Kong 3. And I didn't realize that Donkey Kong 3 is a completely different game in terms of gameplay, and it's almost a shame, actually yeah, it is, it's a shame that this game is not well known enough. This game it's popular, it's Donkey Kong, but this game isn't well known. People know Donkey Kong Country, they know the character, they know Donkey Kong Arcade, but Donkey Kong 3? Where's Stanley nowadays? What's he up to? Would they ever make a remake of this game? There's a couple ports of it, mostly on the Virtual Console, but to this day, Donkey Kong 3 remains largely untouched in terms of Nintendo promoting it or re-releasing it. So don't be put off by Donkey Kong 3's differences in appearance from the previous Donkey Kong games. This game is a solid game, a lot of fun, it holds up well as an arcade game. There are some arcade games from the classic 80s and 90s days that don't hold up as well, but this one is a standout game in my opinion, one of the highlights of the early black box NES games, and especially that of the arcade series. Nintendo really created a gem with this one, and to me, it deserves a spot in the GamerpiEce Theatre. Alright everybody, that's it for today's GamerpiEce Theatre. We checked out Donkey Kong 3 on the NES port of the arcade classic. Donkey Kong 3 today wraps up my trilogy of Donkey Kong Classics games from the arcade ported to the Nintendo NES. Check these games out if you ever see them in an arcade, or if you have a Nintendo NES or other Virtual Console services that have the NES ports of the Donkey Kong trilogy of arcade classics. They're really fun and still worth playing today if you're into that arcade classic mood. Alright guys, thanks for watching Happy Beard Games' GamerPiece Theatre. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you have not. There's more information in the description box below, and leave a comment, let me know what you think. Please feel free to leave some gaming suggestions or recommendations of other games that I should feature in this series. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's been continuing to watch the GamerPiece Theatre series. This was a series that I started this year, 2018, and I plan to keep continuing because it's actually become one of my favorite things to do on YouTube is the GamerPiece Theatre. Now, if you've been watching this in the past, or maybe you missed a few episodes of GamerPiece Theatre, there's going to be a playlist attached to this video, as well as 2 videos that you should probably see popping up somewhere on the screen right about now, which will link you to those videos that are past videos. Alright guys, thanks for watching once again. Stay tuned to Happy Beard Games for more classic gaming goodness and GamerPiece Theatre. Alright guys, bye!